Hi, everybody. This is Karen Palmer. I am your host of Living on Purpose TV, and this is the place where you're going to get all the tips and tools and the strategies to live your life with more purpose and passion every single day. We're on a mission to have a world where people wake up with passion and purpose in their heart, and that they jump out of bed and get so excited about the work that they're doing in the world. So if this is something that you have been called to hear, I am just so honored. Each week I get to bring these incredible guests to you. These people are honestly so inspiring to me. I'm handpicking these people myself. I connect with them first before I even introduce them on the show. And this dear, sweet, wonderful friend of mine that is on today is Sarah Cooper. She is an incredible singer and a mentor and a creator. And she is passionate about inspiring and changing the world one musician at a time. Now, she has the amazing group that she has created on Facebook that musicians are invited to join, and she's going to share a little bit about that. She's a trailblazer and a game changer. She is making the world a better place, just like she said, one musician at a time. So I would love to welcome Sarah, and I'd love to just ask you, Sarah, what in this experience for you has made working in this arena, in this, doing what you do in the world, how is it purposeful to you, and where do you find your passion?
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for having me, by the way, Karen. I'm absolutely thrilled to be connecting with you, and it's a pleasure to be sharing with your audience today my story and hopefully inspire someone to follow their heart and like you say, live their life on purpose with passion and fulfillment and fun. Fun is the name of the game. So, for me, it all goes back to probably when I was about 4 years old, dancing on the stage in my grandparents' pub, hotel, inn, depending which country you're in. So my grandparents managed hotels, and I was the eldest grandchild. So to keep me occupied during the day while they were doing bookwork and the hotel was shut, they'd put me in the room where they had the disco ball and the jukebox, and I would dance around and have an awesome time playing with on stage by myself with this shiny disco ball. It was so much fun. And from that early memory, I was just fascinated and just I loved music. Music just made me feel good. And I grew up in a small country town where I thought that I would never be able to, and that was never be able to get out and do singing at a high level because I grew up in a country town. And I also had this burning desire to travel the world. I couldn't imagine wanting to live in the same place forever. For me, I'm a gypsy at heart, and so I couldn't understand some of my friends whose families had lived there for generations and they'd never really gone anywhere else. I was like, there's a big world out there. It's ready to experience, ready to be experienced. And so my Trailblazing Musician program, and the reason I'm changing the world one musician at a time, is to connect with people who are like I was, who thought that just because you're in a small rural, area, that you can't make a go of using your passion in your life as your income producing possibility, so that you have the excuse to spend all day doing what you love rather than feeling boxed in and needing to work a day job that doesn't quite fit you, and you're not thrilled to jump up and get out of bed and go and do your life's work. So that's the background of my story and why I have created this program and a free Facebook group for trailblazing musicians to be able to come over and share their experience and their challenges and help them through to becoming their more fun and more invigorated self, if you know what I mean.
And they can, so they can just go onto Facebook and ask to be joined in the group. So
totally.
It's a wonderful group. I'm a member, and I actually had my vocal coach added to the group because I just feel that Sarah gives so much content, so much valuable information for all musicians. You know, we all kind of have this, I believe, that there's an artist kind of mindset that we have to be struggling artists, and that we are, you know, gifted, and that our gifts should be, you know, shared, and we kind of stumble over the receiving end. And
absolutely.
So I love that Sarah has made it so that we can get rid of those limiting beliefs. So let's hear about some of your limiting beliefs that you were able to work on in yourself, some things that you were able to change in your own business.
Sure. Well, a big part of my stories was so I, you know, grew up in that small country town. I nagged and nagged and nagged and nagged and nagged. I was the best at marketing when I was a child even. Nagged my parents to send me to boarding school to be able to have opportunities to further my music interests. Yeah. So I managed to, like a month before school, like high school started, I managed to score a music scholarship to go to one of these boarding schools because my parents wouldn't have been able to afford to send me otherwise. And so I did get the opportunity to expand outside of that small country town and step into a bigger community. It was a shock to the system because I wasn't used to being a little fish in a big pond. I was rather the girl that won the first place at the vocal competitions every year in my group in my small country town. So it was a shock to the system, and I had to step up and try new things. But then so at that point, I thought it was very unlikely that I'd even get into university to study music. But lo and behold, in the final year of high school, I auditioned for a music degree and actually managed to get offered a position there before I'd even finished high school, and which was very uncommon. Not many people were in that position of being able to be offered a place in university before they'd even finished year 12. And so that was really exciting and reassuring, but brought up all sorts of fear and unconfidence at that point. I got 18 months into doing that degree, which was actually a Bachelor of Music and Bachelor of Education combined. So the first 2 years were only spent on music. And as I was getting closer to the education part, I was like, I don't know enough. I can't teach. I'm not perfect. Oh my gosh, no. And so I kind of like hit the brakes and went, I can't do this. I need to, you know, and I haven't got a recording contract. They haven't found me. Oh my gosh. You know, and this university degree, I was completing it in a bigger town yet again. I was in a city this time, in our capital city for the state where I live. So it was all very, I kept expanding and expanding and expanding, but the fear was limiting me. And so at that point, 18 months into my degree, I decided to defer to travel and go overseas. Well, 2 months later, I found out that those travel plans were being put on hold because I was pregnant with my oldest child, and so it changed. It was a you know, a ball curve. It threw a curve, whatever that analogy is. Anyway, it changed things, but it was meant to happen. It was totally meant to happen, and so that fear, it made me hit the skids, but it also took me in a different direction where then um, while I was pregnant with my daughter, I moved into managing business. I was already working in small business for a long time. And I come from parents and grandparents who were all in small business. So working for yourself isn't foreign. So I'd worked in business management, and I furthered that into developing my own businesses while I was at home with her after her birth. And so then I also worked with an international company as a trainer and developing a team within their structure, the Body Shop. The Body Shop at Home, I worked for them, and that taught me a lot about people and marketing and connecting, and I did a lot of training with them, which was really useful, and learning how to connect with people. And gee, isn't that relevant for, I mean, everything in life, but musicians. You know, musicians are communicating, and they communicate not only through their songs and stories, but the way they present themselves in their day-to-day or within the banter between songs. And then in this day and age, with social media, people like to know and connect with the person, not just the music. And if the person resonates with them, they're going to be more likely to go out of their way to book that ticket to go see them in concert. So you can see that while my path diverged from music, and it actually diverged for about 7 years, I went into business and business skills and did further business training and some accounting training and all sorts of different branches of business which brought me back to music. I came back to music because I realized fear was holding me back. And this was my life purpose. And I would sing, I still sang, I sang and I sang and I sang, but it just, it didn't resonate with me to only stay in business. Yeah, I enjoyed connecting with people and I enjoyed working for various companies and doing different things, but often the novelty would wear off within a short period of time because I just didn't connect with that particular purpose after a while, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And I love autonomy and I love being my own boss, and so I ended up going back and finishing my degree around my children because I'd had 2 more, and and I ended up starting with teaching children through to adults, and realizing there were so many people like me who wanted to be a singer when they grew up, but they didn't know how to actually incorporate it into their life and make an income or make it practical. Because haven't we all heard the cliche, oh, get a real job, get a day job, you know, oh, yes, that's great that you're good at it, but, you know, you really should have a backup plan. But if we have a backup plan, then are we not planning to end up, you know, failing, so to speak, and not being able to put that focus on where our love and our passion is. Mm-hmm. So after teaching so many aspiring singers, being my niche, on, you know, developing their skills and getting them set to launch into the world, too many were clueless about how to actually go, you know, oh, I'm a creator. I can actually create my own possibilities. Rather than wait for the right job to come to me, or in my case, wait for that recording contract to just suddenly appear when you're not even putting yourself out there.
They're not going to come knocking on the door.
No, that's right. Not when you're just, not when you're in suburbia in a big city. So that's my background, and that's where it's come from. So I've been focusing on building that, and I've turned my teaching into a successful business locally, and then started creating products like workshops and going rural, outback Australia, and taking the music to those country kids just like me who are dying to connect with something outside of what they have available to them.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And to really see that as the next step and see that it is possible, and if I can do it, that there's possibility for them too, especially now that the day and the age of the internet, it makes everything possible.
That's a beautiful, beautiful and inspiring message that you're sharing, and wow, how awesome that you have all these modalities that you can bring to the table to help anybody, even coaches or healers or people who are, you know, in that field that just need to know how to get the A to Z on having automated business. Automated business is so incredible. It's changed my life completely. And I'm really excited to learn from Sarah because I am actually recording and putting together a YouTube channel. And so she's been helping me with my idea of parodies of kindness. So we have
excellent.
Yeah, we have some really great things in common. And I would love for you to just share if there's anything that people who are watching right now have been totally inspired, which I'm sure everybody who just heard your story is feeling that way. But what is something that they could do, you know, just an action step that might make it so that they could be more purposeful and more passionate about their work and what they're doing in their world?
Okay, so I think it all comes down to making a decision. So when I didn't mention in my story there that there was a time in 2009 when I was sitting on the couch at about 11 p.m. and I was watching reality TV and I was eating a block of chocolate and I was desperately unhappy with where I was at that point. At that point, actually, I'd only just started going back to my studies and finishing them off, and I was in transition. There was a lot of change happening then, and I've always been overweight since I was probably around 9 years old, and then it was a lifelong battle. But at this point, I realized I was sitting on the couch, stuffing my face, and feeling unhappy and very tired, and I would wake up and my children would pull me out of bed and go, "Mum, we got to get ready for school," because I was not living on purpose. I was not living as the person I had in my mind's eye. And from that moment, I realized that if I sit on the couch and eat chocolate, that's not what the person in my mind's eye would do. They wouldn't sit there at 11 o'clock at night and stuff their feelings down their throat. Really, that's all I was doing. And so I had to make a decision to start acting as though I was the vision in my mind, the person who was in charge of her emotions, who was living her purpose, who was enjoying her day-to-day life. And so I had to prioritize self-care and actually putting some more time into developing my voice and music and bringing more of that into my day-to-day. As I said, I'd just started my studies, and so there was a whole heap of fear coming up around that point too. As a result, I would suggest the first step for anyone who's listening and really wants to make that change towards doing what they desire is to make the decision of what matters to you. And I've done it again when it comes to, you know, changing my business structure, and instead of working, you know, 35 plus hours a week doing one-on-one teaching, I know I want to affect change across the world. And so I had to make the hard decision to not help everyone on an individual level, but actually change to more of a group teaching situation. And I had to disappoint some people, but those kinds of things will come up when you make a decision to start following your purpose. But it's about making that decision and accepting that it's not going to suit everyone's, you know, ideal perception of you and what you should be doing. Go within and think about what really matters to you. And if you can't figure that out, go back to your childhood. You'll remember the things that made you buzz when you didn't have responsibilities or a job to cater to or children to feed and clothe. You'll remember the things that took up time after school and on the weekends. And for some of you, and I know for one of my sisters, this is the case. She goes, well, you were obviously gifted at music, and then our cousin was obviously gifted at, you know, sport and things like that. I don't have an obvious gift. But you know what? She went on to study journalism. She's fantastic at writing and speaking and connecting with people. She was always getting in trouble for talking in class. Does that not give you a clue? So people's talents will often stand out when you revisit their childhood. And so revisit your childhood and figure out what really mattered, what got you going, what made you feel inspired or excited to jump out of bed. I mean, I was always making up songs and making up dances and then making up radio shows. How ironic, really, right? You know, here we are playing radio or TV show. Yeah. So, you know, it really is, go revisit your childhood and connect with your inner self if you're not sure of what your real purpose is, because I know it's easy to feel overwhelmed and think, I could go in this way, I could go in that way. I got distracted by health and fitness because of I ended up losing 35 kilos as a part of that decision to start acting as though I'm a healthy person in charge of my life. 35 kilos being about 77 pounds.
That's great.
So that, you know, resulted in a huge weight being lifted from me, not just physically, but from my soul. But revisit your childhood. Make the decision to commit to your bigger purpose. Don't expect that it will be completely obvious at first, but just start dabbling with more of what is really you. And the more you dabble and the more you connect with those people, or I definitely recommend you connect with people who are already doing what you think you want to do, and start connecting with them and start interacting and hanging out with them, and then that will either help you refine if it is for you, or if it's not for you and you realize that after hanging around that for a while, you know, kind of, I use the example, if you like going to bed at 9 p.m. But, you know, most gigging musicians, I'm talking a live gigging musician, most of the gigs are going to be at night time unless you can find some great daytime gigs. I would suggest that if you like a regular bedtime, don't look at being a live, you know, gigging musician. Let's find a different way to channel your music talents so that you can keep the lifestyle that you love, going to bed early if that matters to you, and then find a way to incorporate, you know, your music into that lifestyle that you desire. So that's all that I'm about, you know, firstly figuring out what you want, and then finding a way to work your passion and your talent into it, and find many different ways of, you know, playing with it and having fun, because honestly having fun is where it's all at. That's my theme for the year, to have more fun.
I agree 100%. I have to make things fun for myself. If it's not fun, I have to stop. I actually have to stop and figure out how can I make this more fun. And, you know, totally. Designing board games, writing books, I have to be creative, writing songs, putting together all these different ways. It's just like you said, I went back to my childhood and I knew that my thing was, I love people. I love helping people, and I really just enjoy the time that I can have with really authentically connecting with people, not on a superficial level, but really deeply connecting. And I feel that way about animals too. And so I was able to, that's what I've been able to do, is bring all of my spiritual gifts to a practicality so that I can create, you know, things that matter to me. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and really sharing these great steps and your beautiful story. It's so inspiring. Every time that we share a little bit of our stories, you know, we don't know who we're touching. We don't know the person who's listening on the other end. We don't know if we might just be that rope that they just grabbed on and said, okay, I might just be able to try one more time, you know.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. And is there anything that you'd like to say in closing?
Thank you, Karen. It's been a pleasure to connect with you, and the multiple times that we have, it's been so wonderful to work with you. I would just love to invite anyone who is keen to harness their musical talent, or if they're a teacher or a performer, or if they just love to dabble in music and they're not sure where it's going for them, come and join the free Trailblazing Musician Facebook group. Just Google it or jump on Facebook and search it and just ask for access. It is a closed group so that you can be assured of your privacy when you're sharing your dreams, because it's a place for crazy big dreamers who are told that, that you should get a day job and it's not practical. But I'm here to help you figure out how to make it practical, how to make it normal, how to make it your new normal, and expand into that. So and I offer a heap of free content, because I understand a lot of early to mid-career musicians don't have the cash to support themselves to grow. So I'm all about helping as much as I can, and at the same time I have that access to the Trailblazing Musician Program, which is a paid content area, but it's full of further information. But as Karen has already shared, there's heaps of free stuff in there for those who are looking to think outside the box, which is certainly what we are, outside of the box thinkers.
Yay! All right, so thanks everybody for being here, and really appreciate your time, and hope you have a wonderful week.
Thank you.